Hey man, if you want to win with women, there's something you need to tattoo on your soul. Never react. I'm not talking about staying quiet or acting cool on the surface while boiling inside. I'm talking about becoming so centered, so rooted in your own masculine core that nothing she says or does can throw you off. Because once you understand female nature, not the fantasy version, but the real, raw, emotional roller coaster she lives on, you realize that 90% of what she does isn't even about you, it's about her own internal chaos. And the moment you react, the moment you flinch, the moment you explain yourself, defend yourself, or try to correct her emotional storm, you lose. You step into her frame, you enter her world, and that's where the destruction begins. Women aren't testing your answers, they're testing your stability. That snide comment she made, that hot and cold behavior, that emotional outburst, it wasn't about getting a logical resolution, it was about watching what you do when pressure is applied. Because to her, your reaction is more revealing than any words you could ever say. If she can shake you, she doesn't feel safe. If she can rattle your mind, she can't respect your strength. Women don't want to lead emotionally, they want to surrender. But they'll never surrender to a man who can't hold his own center when the storm starts. You think she just got moody? No. She's pulling the fire alarm to see who runs out of the building. She's throwing emotional chaos at you like a grenade, not to destroy you, but to see if you panic. That's female nature. It's not evil, it's not manipulative, it's instinct. Because women are biologically wired to test for strength, especially when they feel vulnerable. And if you react, if you start arguing, over-explaining, raising your voice, or chasing clarity, you fail the test. You just prove to her that you can be moved. And a man who can be moved is a man who can't protect. The most powerful response is no response, not silence filled with tension. Not the silent treatment, but calm, detached awareness. A look in your eyes that says, I see what you're doing, and it doesn't shake me. That level of presence is magnetic. It makes her feel something deeper than pleasure. It makes her feel protected, not by force, but by frame. Your frame becomes her safe space when her emotions become too much for even her to handle. And the irony, the more you don't react, the more she softens. The more grounded you remain, the more she leans in. Because now she knows you're not just physically strong, you're emotionally immovable. Most guys destroy attraction by overcorrecting. She says she feels ignored, and he starts texting too much. She acts distant, and he plans a romantic dinner. She withdraws, and he starts panicking, wondering what he did wrong. But here's the truth. A woman's emotional behavior is often just energy in motion. It's not always a call to action. It's not always a red flag. It's a test. And your job isn't to fix it. Your job is to remain calm, curious, and still. Like a mountain. Let her emotions pass through like wind. Let her fire rage. Let her words swirl. But don't move. Don't flinch. Because once you do, she can never unknow that you're easy to shake. The moment she knows she can control your mood, she starts to lose respect. Not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. If you're the man she looks to for strength, how can she trust you when you're emotionally reactive? If her tantrums, sarcasm, or passive-aggressive games work every time, you've become her puppet. And the tragedy? Most men are trained to think, this is love. That being emotionally available means mirroring her drama. That being in tune means matching her chaos. No. Being emotionally available means being present without being moved. It means seeing the storm without jumping into it. And when you master that, her games stop. Because they no longer work. You've seen it. A man trying to fix everything, constantly reacting to her moods, walking on eggshells, adjusting himself every time she shifts. And what does she do? She pulls back. She complains more. She says, you've changed. But what she really means is, you've stopped being the man. You stopped being the grounded, calm presence she could lean on. Now you're the one leaning on her. And that's backwards. That's unattractive. That's emotionally weak. Your role isn't to fight her emotions, it's to remain unfazed by them, because when she sees that you don't bend, she starts bending for you. Look at nature. The river doesn't move the mountain, the wind doesn't uproot the oak, the sun doesn't melt the stone, and that's what your energy needs to become. Unshakable. She can cry, scream, blame, accuse, And you breathe. You observe. You don't defend. You don't beg. You don't correct her version of reality. Because guess what? You'll never win an emotional argument with logic. Never. Female nature doesn't operate on logic. It operates on feeling. And feelings shift. So stop playing her game. Stay rooted in your own. Lead her with energy, not explanations. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. This doesn't mean you let her walk all over you. No. You hold your boundary without emotion. You say what you allow, what you don't, and you walk away when necessary. But you don't yell. You don't slam doors. You don't break down. Because power isn't loud. It's stable. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to convince her. You simply show her that you are the same man, whether she's sweet or sour, loving or distant. And that consistency, it scares most women at first. But eventually, it melts them. Because deep down, what she wants more than anything isn't a man who caters to her moods. It's a man who anchors her through them. A man who knows that chaos is part of the feminine. That drama is often just a cry for grounding. And instead of reacting, he gives her stillness. He gives her the gift of a man who doesn't need her to be perfect for him to remain powerful. That man, he's rare. He's unforgettable. And once a woman tastes that energy, every boy who flinches, panics, or reacts feels like a child in comparison. A woman will test you without even knowing she's testing you. She'll change plans last minute, poke fun at something important to you, go cold without warning, or flirt with chaos just to see what you'll do. And if you explode, if you chase, if you go silent in resentment, she sees weakness, not because she wants to, but because now you've shown her that her mood dictates your manhood. You've handed her the remote control to your emotional state, and she will press every button, not out of malice, but out of instinct. And when she's done, she'll look at you with disappointment. She can't even explain. You think being stoic is about being cold. It's not. True stoicism is emotional mastery, not emotional suppression. It's the ability to feel everything and still choose your response. You may feel triggered, angry, betrayed, disrespected, but you do not act from it. You do not let those feelings steer the ship. You acknowledge them, let them pass, and lead from clarity. That's real masculinity, not the kind that lashes out, not the kind that shrinks or shuts down, but the kind that can face a storm with eyes wide open and say, I see this for what it is, and I won't be moved. Most men get this wrong. They think not reacting means staying in the relationship no matter what, letting her push them around, tolerating disrespect. But that's not strength. That's fear in disguise. Real strength says, I won't react to your drama, but I also won't stay where I'm not respected. You don't have to punish her. You don't have to explain 100 times. You just have to act decisively, calmly, without revenge, without guilt. You show her that your presence is a privilege, not a prison. And if she can't bring peace to your world, she's not welcome in it. The truth is, most women are bored, not because life is dull, but because their emotions crave stimulation. When a man is reactive, he gives her that stimulation at the cost of his dignity. But when you're calm, when you don't rise to every bait, when your peace becomes her only source of stability, she starts to crave you, obsess over you. Because now, she's addicted not to chaos, but to the stillness you bring. And the moment she realizes she can't shake you, that's when the game flips. That's when her walls start to crumble. And now, she starts reacting to you. Let's be real. If you're constantly triggered, you're not leading. You're following her emotions. You're walking into her frame every time you try to argue, explain, or seek validation. And deep down, she knows it. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it. That little drop in respect, that subtle turn in her gaze. Because no woman can admire a man she controls. Attraction fades where leadership fails. You think she wants someone to say yes dear to everything? No. She wants a man who sees through the noise, stands firm in truth, and makes her feel safe even when she's not safe within herself. The most seductive man in the room isn't the loudest. He's the one who seems untouchable by drama. The man who can laugh when she tries to provoke. Who doesn't fold when she withholds affection? Who doesn't apologize just to keep the peace, but only when he's truly wrong? That man radiates power because his peace isn't conditional. It's not borrowed from her approval. It's built from within. And when she senses that, she realizes something most women never admit. She can't control him, and that makes her want him even more. Understand this. The feminine tests the masculine to feel the edge of his power. It's not about dominance, it's about trust. She wants to know that you won't collapse when things get hard, that you won't crumble when she's irrational, that you won't chase when she withdraws. And every test she throws is a door. You either walk through it with composure, or you bang on it like a boy who lost his toy. Choose wisely. Because once she labels you as reactive, it's hard to reclaim that grounded space again. You're either the rock, or you're part of the flood. You don't need to respond to every mood swing. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Not everything she says deserves your energy. Save it, preserve it, use it when it counts. Because the more selective you are with your responses, the more valuable they become. And the less reactive you are, the more mysterious you become. And mystery, that's the seed of obsession. Because now, she's not just reacting emotionally, she's wondering, curious. Why doesn't he respond like other guys? That curiosity becomes tension, and that tension becomes attraction. Your masculine frame is your throne, and she will try to drag you off it, not to destroy you, but to verify you. Can he hold this position when I scream, when I cry, when I test his patience? And if you do, you become rare, valuable, unforgettable. Because every other guy has crumbled. Every other man has been easy to sway, to provoke, to manipulate, but not you. You've done the work. You've trained your nervous system. You've mastered your energy, and that makes you the prize, not the one chasing it. So the next time she tests you, whether with silence, sauce, games, or emotional hurricanes, don't flinch, don't fold, don't fuel the fire, just observe. Stay rooted, speak less, move with precision, lead with energy, not explanation, and watch how quickly the dynamic shifts. Because when she sees that nothing she does can shake you, she finally relaxes, she finally softens, and in that space the real connection begins, not from chaos, but from calm, not from reaction, but from masculine truth. Most men don't realize this, but every emotional outburst from a woman is not just a cry for attention, it's a subconscious audition. She wants to know if you'll fall apart, if you'll yell back, if you'll try to fix her, and if you do any of those things, she may get what she thought she wanted, but she loses what she actually needed, your emotional leadership. She needed to know you could hold both her and yourself in the same storm. But when you crumble, now she's got two storms to manage, hers and yours. And that's when she starts looking elsewhere, for peace, for grounding, for a man. You'll notice the most stoic men don't talk much when women are in chaos, not because they're ignoring, but because they're observing, processing, measuring the situation with a lens of detachment. They'll let her spin, cry, accuse, collapse, and then only then do they speak. And when they do, it's with clarity, precision, finality. And that moment, that's when everything changes, because she realizes he was never confused, he was never weak, he just knew that real power doesn't argue. It simply decides. It's crazy how many men think they're doing something noble by constantly reacting, by proving how much they care through emotional responses, by showing their pain. But what they don't understand is you don't gain love by being emotionally volatile. You gain pity, you gain sympathy, but you lose attraction. Because feminine energy doesn't bond through shared emotional breakdowns, it bonds through trust in the man's strength. She needs to feel your spine when she's lost hers, not your tears, not your panic, just your presence. It will feel wrong at first. You'll feel like a villain for not reacting, for not chasing, for not justifying your every move. But understand this, your calmness is not cruelty. Your emotional independence is not indifference. You're not punishing her by staying centered. You're protecting the space where real connection can happen. Because chaos doesn't create love, it creates confusion. And confusion destroys polarity. If you want to lead, you must first become the man who can sit in fire without burning, who can hear criticism without defending, who can witness her spiral and still remain clear. She doesn't need another emotionally available man. She needs a grounded man. There's a difference. Emotionally available men often drown with her. Grounded men stay on the boat and throw the rope. The first tries to feel everything she feels and loses himself in the process. The second sees it, holds it, and helps her climb back out without ever getting soaked. That's power. That's what draws her back, again and again, even when she doesn't understand why. Because a grounded man makes her feel safe in a world where her own emotions often betray her. Let me say this loud. She'll never tell you this. She'll never say, "I'm testing you to see if you're emotionally reactive." She won't explain her mood swings. She won't confess her fears. But deep down, she knows who she can respect and who she can control. And if she senses she can move you with her emotions, she'll never feel fully safe with you. Not because she's manipulative, but because her biology tells her, if he breaks under my pressure, how will he protect me from the world's pressure? That's how deep it goes. That's how primal it is. Men often lose the game, not by doing too little, but by doing too much, too soon, too emotionally. She raises her voice and you raise yours. She acts distant and you demand connection. She flirts with chaos and you match it with desperation. And in all that reacting, you forget who you are. You forget your role, your standards, your peace. And now, you're not the grounded man anymore. You're just another player in her emotional movie. And worse, you're not even the one writing the script. She is. And that means she'll cut your scene the moment the plot gets boring. Here's the truth. Most men don't want to hear. You don't need to respond to everything. In fact, the strongest men say the least. Not because they're dismissive, but because their energy speaks louder than their words. If she throws a tantrum and you stay calm, that silence is thunder. If she accuses and you don't flinch, that stillness is fire. It's not passive, it's presence. And presence doesn't need to convince, it just is. She feels it. And when she feels it, the game starts to end. Because the game only works if you play. This is the frame. You are the calm. You are the mountain. You are the still point in her spinning world. And no matter how wild she gets, how emotionally irrational, how up and down her moods run, you remain. That's what makes her submit. Not words, not logic, but your energy, your refusal to be swayed, your quiet strength that says, I don't need to fight, I don't need to chase, I don't need to respond, because I already know who I am. That's rare, and rare men don't chase approval, they command it by existence. So next time she tests you, don't analyze, don't react, don't spiral, watch, smile, stay calm, speak less, move with dignity, and remember, every test is not an attack, it's an opportunity, not to fight her, not to out-emotion her, but to lead her, not through force, but through emotional gravity, because when a woman feels your gravity, she stops spinning, she stops pulling, she starts surrendering, and that surrender, that's not weakness, that's where real love begins, not from chaos, but from calm. The biggest shift in your life happens when you realize that your emotional state is your responsibility, not hers. The moment you expect her to regulate you, to soothe you, to validate your worth, you've already lost the game, because now you're not the grounded man, you're the boy looking for a mother in his lover, and she feels that, even if she nurtures it at first, she will eventually resent it, not because she hates you, but because she doesn't want to be the foundation of your identity. She wants to be held, not to hold, led, not to lead. And you must step up to become that foundation within yourself first. Think about how much peace you'd have if you just stopped responding, not out of spite, but out of sovereignty. Imagine how unshakable you'd become if you saw her chaos, not as something to fix, but something to witness, without judgment, without attachment. That's the moment you become magnetic. That's when she starts leaning in, instead of pulling away. Because now, her storm doesn't move you, it reveals you. And what it reveals is a man who knows himself so deeply that not even love can unseat him from his throne. Reactivity is a drug. It gives you a short hit of validation. You feel righteous. You feel like you're defending yourself. You feel like you're standing up. But what you're really doing is leaking power. You're giving her the steering wheel to your inner world. And every time you argue back, chase after, explain yourself emotionally, you lose leverage. You teach her that you can be swayed, that your calm is only conditional, that your power is performative. And that's when she stops respecting you, even if she never says it out loud. Here's what women respect more than anything: consistency under pressure, not charm, not muscles, not words, but the man who shows up the same, whether she's loving or lashing. The man who doesn't get thrown off, because her vibe shifted. The man who doesn't chase approval because he already knows he's enough. That man, he becomes unforgettable, because in a world of emotional performers, he's an emotional pillar. And women don't forget the man who made them feel safe enough to melt. When you stop reacting, you stop losing, you stop feeding the drama loop, you stop playing her emotional ping pong. Instead, you bring her into your frame. You set the tempo, you decide what matters and what doesn't. You stop explaining and start leading. And in that silence, in that grounded pause, you create space for truth. You create space for her to meet you at your level or to walk away. And both outcomes, they serve you. Because a woman who can't thrive in your frame has no place in your future. If you want to be the man women chase, desire, and respect, you have to become the man who can stand still in the fire. That means you don't react when she's emotional. You don't flinch when she tests you. You don't beg when she threatens to leave. You stay still, present, rooted. And that stillness, that presence, that's what seduces her soul, because she knows deep down you can lead. And in today's world, leadership is the rarest form of seduction. She's not looking for perfection, she's looking for polarity. And that polarity only happens when you hold your center, when she spirals and you don't, when she throws bait and you don't bite, when she pushes and instead of pushing back you anchor. That's when she sees the man. That's when her feminine relaxes, not because you matched her energy, but because you didn't. And in not reacting, you created space for her to remember who she really is and who you really are. Every man will face this moment. She's emotional, erratic, testing, pushing, and everything in you wants to react, to defend, to raise your voice, to prove your point. But that's the moment of choice. That's where your power is, because if you can pause, breathe, observe, and hold steady, you win. Not against her, but for you. You win your power back. You reclaim your peace. You reinforce your identity. And in that calm resistance, you become the gravitational force she's never felt before. She might call you cold. She might accuse you of not caring. She might try to pull you into the dance of drama, but you stay still. Why? Because you know who you are. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be real. And sometimes, the most loving thing a man can do is hold the line, to say, I will not react. I will not be swayed. I will not lose myself in your storm. And in time, if she's the right one, she'll understand. She'll come to respect it, and she'll love you deeper for being the one man she couldn't move off center. So remember this, brother. Her chaos is not your call to action. Her moods are not your mission. Her emotions are not your emergency. Your job is to lead, not through control, but through calm, not through reaction, but through resonance. Let her spin. Let her test, let her feel, and you stay grounded, stay still, stay real. Because when a man stands unmoved in the presence of emotional storms, he becomes the calm she never knew she needed.